Hello, I'm Eric Ford, and we're back for part 6 of 6, Leading the Ethical Organization. I apologize for the background noise. We've had every manner of leaf blower, airplane, any two-stroke engine that can possibly be run has been run in the background, so I apologize. Creating an ethical organization. This is the values, attitudes, behavioral patterns that define an organization's culture. And this is when you have to figure out what is and is not acceptable behavior. Creating an ethical organization. These are the practices that firms use to promote the culture. When people steal, do things wrong, you need to get rid of those people. It's just that simple. You need to hold out role models. If you think about our nation, the United States, George Washington is probably not portrayed very accurately. He's been, well, I might even say deified, but honest to a fault about chopping down cherry trees, etc. Corporate credos and codes of conducts, ethically based reward systems and evaluation systems. And by the way, evaluation systems that only occur every year probably aren't getting it. That's simply not often enough to make the HR function an integral part of your ethics system. And consistently enforced ethical policies. You have to know where the line in the sand is. And there's something called progressive disciplinary action, PDA, not public displays of affection, but progressive disciplinary action, where you inform people that that behavior is not acceptable, and you either do it orally, you write it down, etc., and it becomes progressive, and the consequences become progressive up to and including termination for cause. What do ethical values do? They shape the way we search for opportunities. Are we going to exploit somebody else's raw goods or resources to our own benefit, yet leave them in an environment that's unhealthy to live in? It shapes the design of organizational systems. We see corrupt bonus systems often lead people to behave in ways that are not in the benefit of either the customer or the firm. They shape the decision-making processes. We see cultural norms evolve often in companies where negative things are permitted. It's like the person who doesn't show up regularly for work, or who doesn't do their part on committees, the free riders, if you will. Those people need to be sanctioned, essentially. It provides a common frame of reference and serves as a unifying force. In other words, we need to know what people are doing. There's a story about Abraham Lincoln who walked several miles to return somebody's change, hence Honest Abe. Again, notice that many of our icons in government are famed for their honesty and intelligence. This is a somewhat paradoxical example. Wal-Mart actually has fairly significant ethical challenges within its company. I admire the company a great deal for its success and its business models. However, its treatment of women in particular has often been questioned. And in fact, there are significant class action lawsuits out there right now. Nevertheless, you can see what Wal-Mart does, and I won't belabor it, but do know that there's two sides to this story. Integrity-based versus compliance. Integrity means we trust you to do the right thing, and we're relying on your internal locus of control, if you will, to make the right thing happen. External or compliance-based means we're going to monitor you, and we're going to monitor you very closely. And companies are doing this with greater and greater frequency because the cost of doing it has gone way down. What are some examples of this? They can monitor your email. They can put cameras in the workplace. If you carry a card that lets you in and out of doors on campus, those are being recorded. So they really can track your movements. There is some emerging technology. The technology is out there, but work being done based on our phones. Our cell phones are constantly sending out location-based signals as to where we are, and people are starting to use those for both law enforcement, marketing, all manner of functions. On my phone, I have something called Looped, And when my colleagues and I are trying to meet at a meeting or some other location where we don't know where one another are, we can turn on Looped and it'll sort of drop pins on our map to show us where that person is, and we can then meander our way toward one another. So this compliance-based approach is growing more and more. It's the big brother. I think you need some element of both in order to have a well-functioning company, and it's a question of what the appropriate balance is. And that will actually vary from sector to sector. In the nuclear world, we want some fairly serious compliance, lots of rules and regulations for the obvious reasons. In other low risk scenarios, perhaps so much compliance is only a hindrance. Integrity-based ethics programs build ethical organizations, point out what the rule of law is, talk about what the responsibilities and expectations that are reasonable of one another are, and these are good things to do. These are important discussions to have. It enables ethical conduct when you do it well. It examines the organization's members and their values. And it's possible to work for a company where your values don't align, and that doesn't say anything negative about the other company or you, but maybe it's not a good fit. In that case, you should probably leave that company. And that's okay. And again, defining responsibilities and aspirations. This is what people have to do. Okay, talk about the characteristics. This is good test material here on this slide. Ethos is the conformity with externally imposed standards. This is a good self-governing where people have high expectations of one another. Objective, this is preventing criminal activity. You can see what it is. Leadership, and the compliance-based point will be lawyer-driven, sort of an odd way to think about it. And management-driven with the aid of lawyers, HR. When your HR function is monitoring you constantly, it can be a real pain, on and on. So, behavioral assumptions, I won't go into this too much. You can read this. This is on the test. Key elements of highly ethical organizations: role models, holding people out who do the right thing, who we want to model other behaviors after. Having corporate credos and codes. This is a little bit old-fashioned in terms of the routineness with which you see it. I don't think it's old-fashioned in terms of its importance. It's unfortunate that more corporations don't hold out a code or a creed and make people say it, that service is job one, those sorts of things. And your reward and evaluation systems have to make ethics matter. Lastly, so do your policies and procedures. Having well-designed, written, and documented policies and procedures is essential. So here's Goolsby's leadership model, and this is very popular, and the gentleman who wrote the book like it very much. They talk about authentic leadership, which is, again, back to that emotional intelligence components, etc. They talk about courage, and this is not trivial. Working in modern-day America, or anywhere in the world for that matter, often requires courage to stand up and say that what we're doing is not being done well or not being done right. It will often bring the scorn of many of your fellow employees, and it's something that needs to be managed. And this is where the EI actually feeds back in. Can you do it deftly and make sure that it works in a way that it taps into people's core values, etc. And the impact. You'll be much better off healthy if you don't dread going to work, and the organization will be the same. Thank you very much. That ends the strategic leadership component.